This is the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session, a weekly recap of your 2023 Phillies. Broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's. Tonight's show is brought to you by Team Toyota, BCWSA, Fogo de Show, Independence Blue Cross, and Capital Grill. Now, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Hello, everybody. Well, tonight we're at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington, Pennsylvania, a place where we've visited many times in the distant past, and we're happy to be here again. And we're going to talk Phillies baseball on the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. It's nice to see so many friendly faces in the audience tonight. And let me introduce my co-host tonight. One of the few people in the history of Phillies baseball to pitch a no-hitter. What a distinction. And of course, in 1993, 16-4 to help lead the Phillies to the World Series and the National League pennant. So would you please welcome number 49 Phillies pitcher Tommy Greene.
Thank you very much, Dan. I tell you what, it makes me feel young again hearing you say that. I felt like I was getting ready to go on the mound.
Tommy, it's a joy
That's
to say your
unbelievable.
name. And, man, you threw some great games.
Well, I appreciate it. Had a lot of fun.
Also in 1991, 13-7, quite a record there. And beat the Braves in the NLCS in 93.
Yeah.
So we really are bringing some star power with co-host Tommy Greene. And our special guest tonight was one of my first baseball heroes. The first two were probably Robin Roberts and Richie Ashburn. The next two were probably Dick Allen and... Now, let me give you a little bit of a background, and then you can guess who it... Our guest tonight was the first Babe Ruth League graduate to ever pitch in the big leagues. He joined the Phillies as a pitcher in July of 1960 and finished that year with a 7-3 win-loss record. And that earned him third place in the National League Rookie of the Year voting in 1960. Some of his records still stand today. He's the only pitcher in Major League Baseball history to pick off the first three men to reach base against him. This, of course, was 1960.
I'd love to see that move.
He's also the only Phillies pitcher to strike out 17 in a 9-inning game.
Wow.
Which he did against the Chicago Cubs at Connie Mack Stadium, April 23rd, 1961. By the way, it's April 24th. We always try to have him on around the anniversary of that brilliant record-breaking strikeout game of his. He pitched and won two consecutive Phillies opening day games, 61 and 62. And in those 2 years, he also led the Phillies in wins, complete games, shutouts, innings pitched, and strikeouts. He is a 3-time National League All-Star, 2 games in 1961 and 1 in 1962. Also in 1962, he won 19 games for the last place Phillies. 19 games for a last place team. And he was second in the league with 20 complete games.
Wow. That's another wow.
He hit a grand slam home run against the New York Mets. Our director of transportation, Jason Berkowitz, is a Mets fan. And
Really?
But Jason right there sitting with Wendy.
Let's single him out so everybody can see him.
No, he's a good, listen, we're good. He's a great young man. I told him it's okay to root for whoever you want to root for.
Yeah. Baseball fan.
I'm not saying that critically, just pointing out that our special guest tonight hit a grand slam home run, Jason, against the Mets in August of 1962.
Man did it all. Swung it good, too.
And he was the first Philadelphia Philly to grace the cover of Sports Illustrated magazine. April 29th, 1963.
I should say that wasn't a swimsuit edition, was it?
He was inducted into the Pennsylvania Baseball Hall of Fame in 1988. He is the last major league pitcher to strike out 12 batters in a game while hitting a grand slam home run in the same game. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Bull Session number 28, Phillies pitcher Art Mahaffey. Boy, that's...
I tell you what, we need a break. Hey, that was a lot of accolades right there.
Yeah,
We
that
just heard right there.
sounded
It
pretty
was
good. I'll
unbelievable.
tell you.
Well, Art, if you had to pick out of all of your achievements, if you had to pick out one that is you feel your best accomplishment.
Every pitcher feels like they can hit, so I'm saying the grand slam.
No, that was a thrill. Fact is, the first home run I hit in the big leagues, I got nervous running to first. I said, what if I trip over the bag?
Oh, miss it.
So I slowed up, and I got the second, and I slowed up again. I got the third, I slowed up. When I got home and in the dugout, everybody was laying in the dugout. They fainted.
Well, I'll tell you.
There were a lot of things. I did some really good things and some really bad things. You know, if I had my fastball, I won. If I didn't have it, I didn't win. But there's a couple things that I recall.
That's why you look so good, right?
Well, I wish.
Well, the reason mine was sort of the same way. If I didn't have it, I backed up a lot of bases. That means you ran a lot.
Yeah, I did that
so you
too.
lose weight. Yeah.
I backed up a base in Los Angeles, and Norm Larker on purpose tackled me and tore my shoulder up and everything.
my
On
God.
purpose. I was way out of the way. Did it on purpose. But, you know, that's the way it goes. But I had one game I can't ever forget, really. It was against Milwaukee, and Hank Aaron could hit me, and you couldn't get him out. He was the best
hit
hitter I
everybody.
ever faced.
Yeah, you weren't the only one.
You weren't the
Art.
only
Yeah.
one. There's a lot of pitchers
Yeah.
chucked and duck off him.
I came out of the dugout that night, and he was waiting for me, and he had his bat on his foot. And as I walked out, he kicked it up in the air, and he said, Mahaffey, you're pitching tonight, and look my bat. It's jumping all over the place. So anyhow, he hit a home run off me in the first inning. And in the eighth inning, I'm losing 1-0. And a runner on first base, and Gene Mauch left me in to bunt the runner to second base. And he always said that if the guys are on top of you, you can swing away. So Eddie Matthews in the Hall of Fame is on third. Joe Edcock on
They're
first.
crashing.
And they're right on top of me. And
Yeah.
I swung and I hit the ball right next to the 427 sign off the fence in center field.
Woo.
Off of Warren Spahn. And tripled, and Johnny Callison singled, and I won the game 2-1. But off of Warren Spahn you know, it was just something.
I told you us pitchers remember the
Yeah.
swinging the bat, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
It's unbelievable.
Especially 427.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But, God.
Great story. Well, I wanted to ask Tommy the same question.
Yeah.
Again, if Tom, of all your accomplishments,
Yeah.
and
Nothing
didn't-
like that, but-
I didn't come close to mentioning them all. But if you had to choose one, I think everybody would think the no hitter, but is it the no hitter?
No. I tell you what. I've thought about different things, and there's a lot of different, like Art said, it's a lot of different things that it takes to get you to the big leagues to get an opportunity to do that. But I think the biggest accomplishment, what I'm proud of more than anything, was really two things. It's hard. One was the game after the no hitter. A lot of people don't realize I pitched 5 days later back home against Montreal, who I pitched a no-hitter against, and threw a 3-hit shutout against them again. Give up 2 hits in the first, 1 in the sixth, and that was it. And didn't walk nobody this time, like I did the first time. And you got to line up that gets another four looks at you, and still really don't do anything.
Yeah.
That was more. That meant something to me. More, a validation game more than anything. But I guess I look back at '93 was a special year for us, getting a chance to play in the playoffs. The thing I'm real proud of is the the body of work it took to get there, get to the playoffs, the whole season of what we had to go through to get there. And it's not just me; it was us. It was we as team. I mean, that's what I'm proud of. That's what I look at, because there was a lot of good times, and hopefully I can keep those memories forever. That I had for that year, because that group of guys I played with, it was unbelievable.
Tommy, we mentioned that you were 16-4 in 1993. Was that the best winning percentage in the National League that year?
At one time, man, and I had a chance to be better. And I pulled my groin. It cost me like 4 starts, and it cost me a chance to win 20. But what I looked at, what you mentioned, one of his records, one of his stats about 20 complete games in 1 year. I'm like, oh my God, I threw 5 complete games in a row one time and won in '93, but I think I ended up throwing 8 maybe that year. But that was like people. It's not unheard of anymore.
Well, Robert,
I looked at you, and that's who I think as a starting pitcher, I always treated it as like I want to be in shape. I want to go 9 innings, and if like Jim Ficosi says, if I come out of the dugout, give me the ball. I don't want to hear no ifs, ands, or buts. That's so. That's the way I looked at it.
I pitched in New York one night, and I was winning 2-1 in the 9th inning with 2 outs. And at that time, not to say it, but I was probably the best pitcher on the team, and I don't mean that smart.
Yeah.
And Gene Law come out and took me out, and a runner on third base brought in Ed Roebuck, and he gave up a fly ball, looked like a home run, really, and it was caught at the wall. So the next day, we had 3 beat writers that traveled with us on the airplanes and everything. Sandy Grady and Alan Lewis and Stan Hockman and everything. They never mentioned I pitched a really good game, really. And I said, you guys, man, you didn't even talk to me after the game. They said, well, you know what? You only pitched 8 2/3 innings.
Oh my God!
You didn't finish.
I'd love to talk to those dudes outside of the ballpark.
You didn't really win that game. You only pitched 8 2/3 innings.
Oh my God!
We've got 2 pretty good pitchers here with us tonight, Tommy Greene and Art Mahaffey, on the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. This radio show is broadcast live over WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. So I'm sure we're right up in this area, aren't we, Chris? Is this within the signal range of WBCB? All right, well, anyway, it's good to have this. You guys don't need the radio right here. This live audience, it is also live streamed. Yeah. You can also hear the audio and watch the video if you wish on www.wbcb1490.com. And each and every week during the baseball season, we talk Phillies baseball. And Tommy and Art, let's talk about this Phillies team, which just won 3 out of 4 versus Colorado, and they're just 1 game under 500 now, 11-12. And Tommy, do you think this Phillies game is starting to come into shape? Was it the opponent over the weekend, or what's going on here?
You're talking to 2 pitchers that pretty much are creatures of habits, and when things start going right, we don't talk about a lot of things. We kind of probably leave it alone and leave well enough alone and just ride the wave as it's going through. But watching these guys, I tell you what, it's a good, from last week to this week, we were talking about them the week before. What a wonderful week of baseball it has been, watching the Phillies play and watching them doing what, so to speak, they're capable of doing. I'm talking bullpen. I'm talking doing stuff on the base pass and hitting and all the way around and finding ways to win ball games, coming back to win a game or 2, and from early home run deficits and like that happened early. And I tell you what, it's been real fun watching them this week. So I'm looking forward to it. I think the pitching can be a little bit better. It happens. You have your ebbs and flows. The starting pitchers, I don't think has really hit their stride yet. But
I think they just about did. And for the heck of it, this is the first year I've watched every game. My wife Janet is an Eagles fan, and I think she turned to a baseball fan this year after 20-some years, so I have to watch every game. But, when Nola got knocked out a couple times and Wheeler and everything, and Sir Anthony, in my heart, watching on TV, wasn't throwing very hard his first couple times.
Yeah,
out.
well, I mean, there was something about it. He wasn't command. Some guys were having command issues. I think that really hurt him.
Last year he'd come in and just blow everybody away.
Yeah.
Well, he's doing that now again.
Yeah.
So I think now the pitching staff's great. The hitters are hitting, but they are going to miss the two home run hitters.
Oh, I mean,
Bryce Harper and Reese Hoskins.
60 some home runs you're talking about
and
right
Derek Hall, who could
Yeah.
probably hit 20
And
or more.
Harper is the leader of the team.
there.
in my
Yeah, and
opinion.
it looks like we might be possibly getting him back sooner or later, but I really want to make sure they get it right when he comes back. Make sure he can do the things he needs to do on the base path, and have him hitting first and foremost. That way they can use him as a DH and get him back in the lineup and get him going. And that's the huge thing. But he's got to be healthy enough to do that. You can't mess around with that.
They're all throwing hard right now. Everyone.
Oh God, I mean, the
They're in a
pitchers are
groove.
unbelievable.
Art, let's give our audience at home, as well as those here at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington, an idea of some of the hitters that you had to face in the 60s.
He mentioned some of them a while ago.
Well, I'll tell you what, there was only 8 teams in the league when I started, and you saw the same hitter. Like you'd see Willie Mays 20 times in a year. Now the guys might see somebody 8 times.
Yeah.
They're playing. But like the Giants had Mays, McCovey, Cepeda, Jim Davenport, Del Crandall right down the line. And I'd go right through them, and Jose Pagan or come up, shortstop wasn't too good a hitter. And you'd go, and then he'd hit a home run.
Oh, yeah. It's amazing how that happens, isn't it?
You
think you got a little breather.
But the Cincinnati had Pinson and Frank Robinson, and Milwaukee had Aaron Adcock and Eddie Matthews. And even the
Eddie,
Cubs, I
man.
had the 17 strikeouts again, had 2 Hall of Famers in the lineup, Ron Santo and Ernie Banks. And they had Frank Thomas, too. But every team had a murderer's row back in those days. Now, I'm from Cincinnati. I just saw Cincinnati play and the Marlins play, and I never saw any superstars that everybody's waiting to follow.
Yeah.
That they're looking like Bryce Harper. People go to see Bryce Harper and these guys. I didn't see guys on those teams that people couldn't wait to get to the ballpark to see.
I think you're talking about those 2 teams in particular. I think they got some good young arms. I know the left-hander for Cincinnati. I really enjoyed watching him pitch the way he pitched against us. He made us look pretty bad.
Yeah.
I can't remember
Lodolo.
his name. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lodolo. But the Marlins have some pretty good arms. In their organization, and young guys.
I'm talking about the lineup.
Oh
the
yeah,
hitters.
I know, but they got some good young pitching. But it's always been a struggle here recently with guys because those teams have been notorious about the money aspect of things. Once a guy gets to the point where he might make a little bit, they're willing to trade and do things.
We have to take our first commercial break. When we come back, Tommy Greene is going to identify this week's Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Phillies Player of the Week. We'll be right back with Tommy and his choice after these messages.
This is the Geeter, the big boss with the big hot sauce, Jerry Blavitt.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicken Pete's. We recently lost a Philly icon, my friend Jerry Blavitt. The Geeter with the Heater. Join us Friday, May 5th at Chickies in South Philly for The Geeter's Still Giving, a tribute event to the incredible Jerry Blavitt. I'll join co-host Fox 29's Bob Kelly as we honor the Geeter's life, legacy, and spirit, and we'll rock to the music of the Geeter loved best. Friday, May 5th in South Philadelphia at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
There really is nothing like a home team advantage. That's why Team Toyota makes a great choice for your next vehicle purchase or service. With our MVP pricing guarantee, teammate rewards program, and streamlined customer experience, our award-winning operation ensures that you can trust our process. A home team advantage is nothing without the community. Our employees are part of our family, part of your town, and we're all part of the team. We're always here for you at one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, and Glen Mills, or at teamtoyota.net.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. This is the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. We talk Phillies baseball every week during the season. And well, we've got 2 pretty good starting pitchers with us tonight. Tommy Greene, who helped lead the Phillies to the 1993 National League Championship and played the Blue Jays in the World Series, and Art Mahaffey, a 3-time All-Star with the Phillies in the early 60s, who still holds the record for most strikeouts in a 9-inning game by a Phillies pitcher, 17. Quite an achievement. Now, we were talking about this year's Phillies, and it looks like they're starting to get back on track. Well, Tommy, speaking of getting back on track, whom have you selected as our Independence Blue Cross Live Fearless Phillies Player of the Week?
Well, I don't want to put any jinx and talk about things and get it going a bad way, but he has kind of woke up a little bit, and the guy I've been sort of expecting to wake up a bit is Nick Castellanos. And I don't like to talk about him too much because I want him to keep him going. That's just a superstitious guy in me a little bit, but he has done well the past 7 games. You know, he's had 27 ABs, 10 hits, couple home runs, scored 6 runs, a few RBIs, like 4 or 5. But the big thing, he's hitting, and that's exactly what we want him to do. He had, matter of fact, this game he hit a couple home runs. It was all in one game, but they tend to come in bunches, and I hope it keeps coming.
Yep.
So.
Nick Castellanos, who's been playing, I think, a better defensive right field than most people give him credit for.
Well,
Tom.
I think with obviously with Harper not playing defense, they didn't expect him to be out there like that. He was probably going to DH more than they thought. You know, maybe play some left field some, but. The more time you spend out there, the better you get. You get more balls at you. I tell you what, in the last year, to me, he made some plays last year is the reason why we were where we were at. You know, in the postseason right there at the end.
Yeah, how about
some of the catches he made out there? It was pretty nice.
Phillies are the 2022 National League champions. Quite an achievement. Boy, when I think of the job that Rob Thompson did last year. Tommy, could you speak to that? And I'd also like to ask, to come in, Joe Girardi started the season as manager in 2022, and Joe Girardi is an excellent manager, but he struggled with this club.
It's I guess guys the way they gel a little bit. I wasn't in the clubhouse to see how it is, but I can vouch. Me going through the same thing when I first come over. With the Phillies when I got traded over from Atlanta. Don't boo me too bad on that. I used to play for Atlanta. But Nick Leyva was my manager. When I first came over in 90 and then in 91 he was there. And Fergosi came. They got sort of like what happened to Joe. It happened, they brought Fergosi in and switched over. It was sort of the same way. And we reacted pretty good the same way with it. It was early in the year like that, but we played as the year got going. The second half of the year, I think – first half of the year, we got so down so quick, and we were like dead last in the first half of the year. But we did a role reversal. We were the best team in the division in the second half in National League. As far as the National League, we had the best record. It was after the All-Star break. It was unbelievable. So playing, sometimes it goes like the communication, the way a guy communicates with you. Does he have what kind of sort of like an open door policy? If you feel, I know with me as a young guy, it speaks volumes when you feel like you can go and talk to your manager. It feels you don't feel intimidated. Or it's different back in the day. I run into some guys when I played. I come up, you didn't feel comfortable around. That were managers. For minor league or big league.
Well, speaking of that, until Charlie Manuel came along, the winningest manager in Phillies history was Gene Mock. Gene Mock was Art's manager. He had some good points,
qualities,
and well, Art, tell us about your manager.
That could take me 2 hours. But no, the fact is, that game I talked about against Milwaukee that I was so proud of, Gene fined me $300 the next day for swinging away. And he says, the next time you do that, you'll buy me a sport coat and a set of golf clubs. But he was pretty mean.
But didn't he tell you?
Oh yeah.
If they crash on you like
that. He didn't like me, and I didn't like him. But when I came up, I won. And we've mentioned this before, but we went on a 24-game road trip. We were pretty bad. We were 6-18, and I was 5-0 with 5 wins, and the rest of the pitching staff was 1-18. Robin Roberts had his only win of the year that year.
This is 1961.
We have a meeting next time pitching against Chicago, and he said, whatever you do, don't let Ernie Banks hit a home run. Well, Ernie Banks hit 560 home runs. And on the 5th inning, I have a perfect game going. And Ernie Banks hit a home run. So he come out and cursed my mother, cursed my father. I didn't know. He didn't know them. Called me all kinds of names, and everything went crazy. And for the next 2 years, in the dugout, in the airport, in the hotel when he passed me, he called my mother and father names. And it just was, fortunately, he wanted to hit off me one day, and it was a total accident. I broke 3 ribs. He got up to the plate in spring training. And I didn't really mean to do it, but I hit him in the ribs on the first pitch.
Well, he probably deserved that.
About 100 miles an hour.
By what you're telling me, he might have deserved that.
And he went like this. Now throw it. But he was in a whirlpool for 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah. So he failed it.
He just didn't like me.
Well,
I get that you run into guys like that every now and then. You just don't gel with.
We were going to get in the World Series when we lost those 10 games in a row. And
during that 1964 now, 6.5 game lead, 12 to go.
He says, Mahaffey, if we get in the World Series, you're the only guy not going to play 1 inning. You're going to sit the bench. So don't worry about it. So we lost 10 in a row.
Hey, right now, I'm glad you got those ribs, pal.
Art, tell us about, speaking of 1964, and so many Phillies fans, including me, gosh, I died 1,000 deaths that September. But I love that team. I think so much of you, Art, and many of your team. Johnny Callison, Dick Allen. I'm still really friendly, as some of you may know, with Dick's son, Richard.
Yeah.
And, the Phillies are going to have a night in Dick's honor Friday, June 9th. They're going to give away a Dick Allen bobblehead this year.
That's awesome.
You guys don't want to miss it. Tell us about Dick Allen, the hitter, Art Mahaffey.
Well, he just could hit without practicing, without doing anything. And he joined the club. I don't know if any of you guys or anybody remember Lee Elia?
Oh, of course.
Oh, my.
Okay. Lee Elia tells this story. Richie joined in Little Rock, Arkansas, joined the club as a kid. And when Richie came in, he had big white spikes on shoes, and he wrote Big Stick on the shoes. And Lee Elia was shagging and 2 or 3 other guys in center field. And Lee said, look at that guy, big stick on his shoes and everything.
I can hear Lee now, man.
Lee said the next first 4 pitches, Richie hit him over his head, out of the park, over the lights and everything. And he said he went to him after batting practice. He said, hey, buddy, you want to call yourself Big Stick, you can do it.
about?
But he could flat out
He was
hit.
strong, man. You could feel it in his. I got
Yeah.
a chance to meet him and spend some time with him, like during alumni weekend. You know,
Yeah.
when all of us are up there, and just shaking hands with those guys that are were the prolific power guys and the stuff.
Yeah.
And it's unbelievable. You can feel they still had it. I mean, and their hands and their forearms. It was unbelievable.
Well, if
You know?
Richie wanted to pick up a refrigerator and move it across,
Yeah, he was that guy.
He could do it.
But what size bat did he use? You ever pick one of those things up?
Yeah,
It's
45-ounce bat.
It was unbelievable. It was huge.
The Grand Slam home run I
It was like a sledgehammer. Yeah.
There was a guy named Gene Woodling, played with the Yankees, and we were in New York. And Gene, I got talking with him. He said, "You want to use my bat?" He had a 44-ounce bat. I picked it. It
swinging
was
a
like
leg.
a club. So I had 2 strikes, no balls on me. I swung at a low pitch, and I hit it over the light towers. Grand Slam home run. The next 2 games, I took the bat against Bob Gibson and Jim Maloney, and I went like this in a strike 1, strike 2.
It was right by you.
But now they use 20-some-ounce bats.
Well, now I know when I played, it was most of the guys was like 34, 32s. You might run into a guy that might go 33,
Yeah.
34 maybe, but nothing like you see those guys back in the day. I was like, that's why, I mean, my first boss was, and when I come into Atlanta, or Atlanta's organization, he was the head of the minor leagues. He was the boss man, was Hank Aaron. And he used to then, this was back in 80s, 85, 86, he would still be going around doing exhibitions at minor league stadium. He would hit,
Wow.
and showing. I mean, and that's the way he made some extra money, I guess. Or he would just go and do it. And he would, oh God, and he wasn't that big. He wasn't that tall of a man. He was just. You could see it in his forearms. I mean, it was unbelievable with those guys.
We have to take a timeout, our second commercial timeout. So we're about halfway through tonight's edition of the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session at Chickies and Pete's in Warrington. Back with Art Mahaffey, Tommy Greene, and me, Dan Baker, in just a moment.
This is the Geeter, the big boss with the big hot sauce, Jerry Blavitt.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicken Pete's. We recently lost a Philly icon, my friend Jerry Blavitt. The Geeter with the Heater. Join us Friday, May 5th at Chickies in South Philly for the Geeter's Still Giving, a tribute event to the incredible Jerry Blavitt. I'll join co-host Fox 29's Bob Kelly as we honor the Geeter's life, legacy, and spirit, and we'll rock to the music that the Geeter loved best. Friday, May 5th in South Philadelphia at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
SEPTA offers a variety of career opportunities. Our core business is transit, and with 5 modes of service, we rely on and need operators, engineers, and conductors. But it takes a host of other specialties, including mechanics, electricians, plumbers, masons, painters, carpenters, welders, and more to keep the system moving. As an employee, you will earn competitive compensation and great benefits, including medical, dental, prescription, and a pension. Visit jobs.septa.org to apply today. That's jobs.septa.org.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Chickies and Pete's in Warrington for the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Now we have a couple more questions for these two wonderful pitchers, Tommy Greene and Art Mahaffey. But first, Sean Steinbacher is going to sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Sean, here we go. No.
Look at that face. That's unbelievable face right there. You got him, Dan.
Art Mahaffey, you said you had something else to tell us about Hank Aaron.
Yeah, Hank was something else. Like, for an example, most guys, if you trick them, they stride and then they try to hit. Hank just kept his arms back here. But one night, he had a line drive that I saw as a blur, and this is no exaggeration. I hit the dirt. And as I'm laying on the ground, Tony Gonzalez is in center field. He went and took 2 steps in, and he turned around. They talk about long home runs. It went over the 447 sign, out into the night and gone. A line drive on the way up.
Oh, it's still going.
And he only weighed 170 pounds.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
That was.
And the ball
that doesn't
wasn't-
shock me the way seeing his swing and the way it was. Hammer and Hank, what they used to call him. So,
Tommy Greene, what was the longest home run you ever saw?
Me?
Not necessarily that you gave up, but
Well, that was probably the longest one I saw. I'm trying to think. I mean, that had to be. I gave up one to Fred McGriff in the playoffs in the upper deck and down the right field line. You remember that one?
That
probably.
was a long one.
John
Yeah.
Kruk said it killed a family of 4 in the front row. Yeah, but I was like, hey, my theory was if you're going to give it up, give it up. And I don't like the wall scrapers. Yeah.
Well, you know what, though, Tommy? There's another. Didn't Fred McGriff, he was elected to the Hall of Fame.
Yes, he's one of the nicest human beings you will ever meet.
Yeah.
Fred McGriff is unbelievable, man. He really is.
By the way, if I don't do this, I'm going to get it at home. My wife, Janet, is here.
Yeah. And who else?
Her
have you
daughter,
brought?
Kristen.
Okay.
Her grandson, Noah. And my beloved Ashley, my granddaughter, who has been to most of Dan Baker's shows, really. It's been everywhere with me in my life.
Oh,
so,
that's awesome.
This is
you stay in the good graces by doing that, right? Yeah, yes, you do.
This is our 16th year doing this show for Merrill Reese and Pat Dion on WBCB Radio. Art Mahaffey has been a guest every one of those years.
That's awesome.
Every one
That's
of those
awesome,
years.
Art. Thank you.
Thank you, Art.
Thank you so much.
Dan.
And that's an unbelievable feat, striking out 17 guys like that. That's unbelievable.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tommy could really throw hard. When Art Mahaffey first came up, my goodness, this man could throw. And he came from...
You look like you might have...
Three quarters.
You look like you had some praying mantis in you. I mean,
Yeah.
so that picture on the paper I saw right there was... I wish my body moved like that. That makes my shoulder hurt
but
watching
you'd
that.
pay for it. You'd pay for it the rest of your life.
I believe that because I'm paying for it.
All right, let's get back to these. No, don't forget, Seattle comes in tomorrow night and Wednesday night and Thursday afternoon as the Seattle Mariners, although they're off to a slow start too. They're a pretty good baseball team. And finally, the Braves, they were swept by the Astros.
That was a good thing to see.
In Atlanta, it's a really good thing. I think the Phillies are only 3.5 games behind Atlanta and the New York Mets now, with their 11-12 record, and both the Braves and Mets are 14-8. If I'm reading the sports page correctly, Tommy, who do you think? Well, obviously the Mets and the Braves in the NL East, but who are going to be the Phillies' main competition for the National League pennant, in your opinion, Tom?
Oh my God! I mean, it's a tough. I mean, it's so early, and teams can get hot. And there's a lot of good teams out there. I mean, you look at, out west, as far as the National League pennant's concerned. I mean, with the team that San Diego has, it's about getting hot and the people putting it together and getting healthy. It's just like us. If we do it, we showed what could happen last year. We got the talent to do it. We got in the National League East, obviously, is very good with those two teams ahead of us. But San Diego is built pretty good. It's all about things doing right. If guys can get healthy, I think they're beat up a little bit too. So, those are the guys that kind of give you trouble a little bit. I think, and you say L.A. tends to be there too.
Oh,
so.
L.A. 111 regular season wins a year ago.
It's unbelievable how they
grief.
tend to stay there. And it's a credit to them. It really is, the guys they bring in and the guys in their organization that tend to come up and step in and contribute.
Yeah, but we had 45 wins one year. We lost 24 games in a row one year. We lost a whole month without winning a game.
I guess you went to sleep a lot hearing a lot of booze, right?
Oh my God!
Well, speaking of Los Angeles, the Dodgers had a pretty good 1-2 left-right pitching combination. Number 32, Sandy Koufax, and Don Drysdale.
How about that back in the day?
And they had more good pitching than that, didn't
And
they?
Johnny Padres.
And Johnny. My pitching coach, Johnny Padres.
Stan Williams, who was a kind of a crazy guy, and I was playing against him in the Dominican, and he used to keep a piece of paper and a pen in his hat. And he'd take his hat off and look at the paper. If he did, you were in trouble. And I'm a pitcher, and I get up to hit. And
he takes his
took
hat
it,
out.
looked at it. He broke my left elbow.
Oh.
And I started winding up like this. And later when I met him, I said, what's that for? What'd you hit me for? He said, well, you made one mistake. I said, what? He said, you came up the bat. Yeah. So
see, wow. And that's the thing I've noticed talking from your generation and the people. The older guys I come up with is the way they looked at things. One of the greatest stories. The funniest stories I ever heard. You probably know this name, the toy cannon, Jimmy Wynn.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
With Houston.
Yeah.
I happened to play for Houston a little bit too, but he was the hitting coach down in AAA. And I used to talk to him because I pitched in AAA a little bit with him. And I used to talk to him about the hitters. I didn't talk to a pitching coach how I was going to pitch a hitter. I talked to the hitting coach. I wanted to see what he saw in this guy. How could I get that guy out? But he was telling a story to me one day. He said he was playing a day game, and it happened to be in St. Louis, and he was young, and he goes up there and you know how guys dig into the box and dig their hole with the right foot and stuff, and he gets in there, and the catcher was just sitting at him, looking up at him, and he turns and looks, and he says, and the catcher says, "What are you doing, digging your grave?"
Yeah.
And he looks at it. Really looks at the mound. He totally forgot who's pitching. Bob Gibson.
Yeah.
He told me, he says, I covered up my hole and put the dirt back in the hole. And the first pitch was in his ear hole. It dumped him on the back. And that's the way it was done back then. And he said it wouldn't have mattered anyway because the rookies got dumped because they were rookies, just to welcome them to the big leagues. And, it was just the way the game was played totally different in the way that it is now. And, that was one of the big questions I wanted to ask you. What is your thoughts on the way the game's played now and some of the things that's happening in the game and what you see compared to when you played?
Well,
does it get up underneath your skin as bad as it does mine?
That I said to you before, how would you like to have pitched the way the hitters hit now? And everyone here sees it all so far this year and last year. To take 2 strikes down the middle and swing a curveball that's going to hit them in the ankle, and they're out. If you notice next time, would be wonderful to know guys are going to take pitches sometimes.
Yeah.
And guys come up with runners on base, second and third, 2 outs. Take 3 strikes and go sit down. In our day, the guy would be benched the next couple of days because you're up there to hit and drive runs in.
Yeah.
But imagine being able to pitch when you know they're going to take maybe 15 to 20 pitches right over to the middle of the plate for strikes.
I see guys that do that, and it sort of shocks me at sometimes. And I look at, I watch them. It's a body of work a little bit to see what they do. Now, there was a guy for Philly, notorious, one of the famous guys. It was on the World Series in '08, and famous second baseman Chase Utley. He was notorious. He never swung at the first pitch ever. It seems like to me. I was watching. He never swings at it. Now Castellanos, on the other hand, last year I think swung at every first pitch. No matter where it was at. It was that type of thing. So I think to each guy's is a little bit different. But I know I mean, being a pitcher, we watched those things. It's like we used to say the Latin guys. We watched the Latin guys play, and and the old theory was they didn't get off the island by not swinging.
That's right.
They see a ball. I think they thought they could hit everything you threw. If it was a fastball, no matter where it was at, they were aggressive. They were aggressive swinging the bat, and you had to watch out for that because they would ambush you.
I played in the Dominican, and when I went there at first, I lived there 3-4 months. And in infield practice or batting practice, you'd see a park. Everybody threw as hard as Sandy Koufax. They play 360 days out of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Here in the United States, the kids do other things in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And that's why they're so good. And they come out of there hitting and swinging.
Oh, yeah, they do.
They don't take.
They do.
Last commercial break, and then we'll be back for the final portion of tonight's edition of the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Back after this.
This is the Geeter, the big boss with the big hot sauce, Jerry Blavitt.
Hi, it's Pete from Chicken Pete's. We recently lost a Philly icon, my friend Jerry Blavitt. The Geeter with the Heater. Join us Friday, May 5th at Chickies in South Philly for the Geeter's Still Giving, a tribute event to the incredible Jerry Blavitt. I'll join co-host Fox 29's Bob Kelly as we honor the Geeter's life, legacy, and spirit, and we'll rock to the music of the Geeter loved best. Friday, May 5th in South Philadelphia at Chickies and Pete's.
At Independence Blue Cross, we believe in giving you the tools you need to pursue your healthiest life. From premiums as low as $0 per month to health discounts and cash rewards, it pays to have coverage with Independence. With the strongest network of doctors and hospitals in the region and free 24/7 virtual doctor visits, you can feel confident that quality care is always within reach. Learn more about your coverage options at ibx.com.
If you're looking for a stylish and sophisticated fine dining experience, visit your Eddie V's Prime Seafood restaurant near King of Prussia. Eddie V's Seafood features an abundant selection of fine wines and curated cocktails to complement exquisite steaks and seafood made from the highest quality ingredients. In the V Lounge, sip on imaginative handcrafted cocktails with attitude while enjoying signature appetizers. Conveniently located between I-276 and I-76 near the King of Prussia Mall. Call them today, 610-337-7823 to schedule your night out for Eddie V's Prime Seafood.
There really is nothing like a home team advantage. That's why Team Toyota makes a great choice for your next vehicle purchase or service. With our MVP pricing guarantee, teammate rewards program, and streamlined customer experience, our award-winning operation ensures that you can trust our process. A home team advantage is nothing without the community. Our employees are part of our family, part of your town, and we're all part of the team. We're always here for you at one of our 3 locations in Princeton, Langhorne, and Glen Mills, or at teamtoyota.net.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
We now return to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Once again, here are your hosts, Phillies PA announcer Dan Baker and Tommy Greene.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session on WBCB 1490 AM and 107.3 FM. Tonight, we're broadcasting live from Chickies and Pete's in Warrington, Pennsylvania. Now, we're going to be with you every Monday during the baseball season. And if the season gets extended, we're going to keep on broadcasting.
That's awesome.
And we'll be to a different Chickies and Pete's each and every week. Next Monday night, May 1st, we will be at Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill. Now, Bill Werndell's going to be... Are you or Mickey on that
I think it's Mickey next week.
Okay. Mickey will be joined by Bill Werndell, who will be pinch hitting for me next Monday. I've got a few medical tests that earlier that day, and nothing serious, just a routine MRI and CAT scan. And
you're the tube guy for today, right?
Oh, hey, but so Bill Werndell, who does such a nice job, is going to
Yes,
be
he is.
pinch hitting next week.
He loves baseball.
And he'll be with Mickey, and they'll have another special Phillies guest for you. We're privileged tonight to have Art Mahaffey, one of my heroes growing up. And Art, I was mentioning Dick Allen and another hero, and Johnny Callison, number 6. Tell us about the Phillies Johnny Callison, great RBI man, a power threat, even though he wasn't a large guy. And he had a great arm. He led the National League in right fielders in assists 3 years running. I think in like 64, 65, and 66 or something like that. And Johnny Callison hit for the cycle, but what kind of a teammate was Johnny Callison?
He was fine. Everybody loved Johnny Callison. Everybody did. And in that 10-game losing streak, there was one game he had 3 home runs during that streak in a game. And so on and so forth. But everybody loved him. He could field, he could throw, he could hit, and he wasn't that big. You know that?
Yeah.
Remember, he hit a home run in the 14th inning off Dick Raditz to win an All-Star game. One quick thing, Johnny and I went to the All-Star game together one year, and the jet went 17,000 feet straight down. We were going to crash.
Oh,
he said,
God.
"This is it," and the pilot straightened it out. So we wouldn't have been here then. But
what they call that, an air pocket or something?
I don't know what it was.
But it was a bad one.
We asked the pilot afterwards, really, when he came out. He said he didn't know what happened, but he straightened it out.
Oh.
But no, everyone loved John Callison. So.
All right, let's talk about the 2023 Phillies again. This is the final segment of tonight's show, and we're joined by one of the top Phillies pitchers in the 1960s and one of the top Phillies pitchers in the 1990s. Art Mahaffey, special guest. Co-host is Tommy Greene. And Tommy Greene's wife, Wendy, is here tonight.
Yes, my better half.
Hey, Wendy, just wanted to say hello and thank you for coming tonight. And thank you for allowing your husband to be our co-host.
Hey, I know I'm the lucky one here. I just,
well, so what's going to happen, Tommy Greene and Art Mahaffey, for the Phillies to win the NL East in 2023?
Well, it's a lot of the same cooking they did last year. They got to get healthy. Now, they're not going to be healthy enough like with Reese to get him back. That means some guys are going to have to step up and mature and make those strides forward and pick up the slack there for far as the power numbers a little bit. But overall, we got to have Harper back. We got to get him back, and we got to get him playing well. And this we have to be healthy. We're still not healthy in our rotation. We got with Ranger gone. We got a lot of things. We got a lot of things that need to tighten the ship. I mean, get tightened up a little bit and get back and play and get them playing and play good baseball and stay in contact. Don't let the people in front of us get any more in front of us too much where you dig yourself too bad of a hole. But I think it's a lot of the same cooking we had last year. Let's get healthy. And then let's play some good ball like we end up playing. We got a chance to get in. We talked about it last year, Dan, when I got a chance. If we can get the chance to get in, we can do some damage. And that's the type of team we have. We do have that type of team that can do things like that.
Well, Tommy and Art, a week ago, the Phillies were 7 games out.
Yeah.
So we're 3.5 out.
Yeah, they're
We've
making
made
moves.
Progress.
They've had a good week, and that's the way it goes. It ebbs and flows a little bit. So very early. But it's all about consistency. We know the way you never want to get too high and too low as ball players. They know they can do positive things. It's about them. They're trying to right the ship a little bit too, because they're going to struggle at times. But they don't want to. The key to winning, I think, back in the day, if you look at it, the starting pitchers. I know our half. If 2 guys were going bad, the other 3 were going good. If you win 3 out of 5, get 3 out of 5 good starts, it gives you a chance to win ball games. You win 3 out of 5. I'll take that throughout the year. That means you're going to win. We're going to do positive things, and that's the team we had tended to do that. It was unbelievable. It was no more than 2 of us were bad at one time. Me and Sheila went bad at one time. The other 3, Terry, Ben, and DJ, were They were rolling. They pitched well. So it's about a team. It's about guys picking each other up. And when guys kind of slump a little bit, the other guys tend to wake up. Very proud of what they call the daycare these days. Those young guys are they've started off the year very well this year.
Art, how do you see this Phillies
I think
club?
if Castellanos, he had 35 home runs in Cincinnati. If he starts hitting home runs, and my wife loves Bone. I call him Buddy Bone.
Alec Bone, yeah.
But anyhow, if he starts hitting, he's big enough to hit home runs.
Oh, yeah.
And Harper
He's coming, I think.
Harper comes back. That'd be a murderer's row. I think the pitchers are throwing hard now.
Yeah, they're throwing better.
Harper, of all the guys making all the money in the big leagues, Harper hustles like Pete Rose.
Does remind you of that a little bit.
He deserves every penny he makes because he runs, he dives, he hustles, he runs them out, he does everything.
That's good.
So if they have 3 hitters hitting home runs and the other guys running and stealing bases, and they could win it again.
Speaking of Pete Rose and Art Mahaffey went to the same high school in Cincinnati, Western Hills, and so did a number of other major leaguers, right, Art Mahaffey?
Yeah, Pete lived a couple blocks from me. In fact, I have a sister, dated his brother for 2 years, and my father was friends with his father, and I struck out Pete Rose one night in a game.
That's an accomplishment.
He only did it once in his career. But my sister said I don't know if anybody knows this, Pete Rose is known as the greatest high school football player in Ohio ever. He run, dive, did kick extra points, field goals, did everything. You know how he ran?
Yeah.
Dove into people. People didn't
solid,
even know that.
With reckless abandon.
But Bryce Harper hustles like Pete Rose.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah.
That's a nice reputation to have. Oh,
Yeah.
Hasn't that contract that the Phillies were fortunate enough to sign Bryce Harper to been great for both the player and the team? And my goodness, I think we're in the midst, Art Mahaffey and Tommy Greene, of another golden era of Phillies baseball. I was fortunate to be there in the 70s with Greg Luzinski, Mike Schmidt, Steve Carlton, Larry Boa, Bob Boone, and then again from 07 to 11, Jimmy Rollins, Chase Utley, Ryan Howard,
good teams, man.
Cole Hamels. I think we're embarking on another special period of Phillies baseball. Would you concur with that, Tom?
I agree with that, and the way things are, and yes, like you hear me, I say all the time, I pray for good health for these guys. If they're healthy, you get to see them on the field, putting it forth on the field what they're capable of doing. And if they're not able to play, you're not seeing that. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. We got to have those boys together as a team out there playing. If they got a chance, then they'll have a chance to do something. The talent is there. It's on the field.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes another edition of the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. And Tommy Greene and I would like to especially thank one of the best starting pitchers in Phillies history, Art Mahaffey. And he came up through the Phillies farm system for being our guest tonight. And he still has the record for most strikeouts in a 9-inning game. Number 28, Art Mahaffey. Don't forget to join us next week from Chickies and Pete's in Drexel Hill. Good night, everybody, and thanks for joining us on the Independence Blue Cross Bulls Session.
You've been listening to the Independence Blue Cross Bull Session. Tonight's show is an exclusive presentation of 1490 WBCB.